If you can make people laugh, you've got yourself a conversational superpower. You may not have realized it yet, but making people laugh is actually such a superpower for controlling the dynamic of a conversation. So in this video, I'm not going to be talking about how to make people laugh. Instead, I'm going to focus on the conversational point of view. So we're going to start off from something very basic. For example, you're in a one-on-one conversation, maybe you're sitting with a friend or a girl, it doesn't matter, it goes both ways. But if you're sitting there and you're a funny person and you decide to start making jokes, or you twist a little bit of what something says to add some humor to it, that immediately gives you the control of the conversation. The power dynamic completely shifts all the way to your side. You may be thinking, why does that matter? What kind of power dynamic? I'm just making funny jokes, I'm just shooting the shit, whatever. So just like in any other conversation where someone is asking the questions and waiting for our response, for example, in an interview setting, the person asking the questions is actually the one who is leading the conversation. Because what essentially happens is you take a step forward, you ask a question, and the person has to provide you a response. So they always go second. Now, when you're making somebody laugh, it works in the exact same way. It's just a lot less obvious. For example, you make a joke, the other person laughs. As soon as they laugh or they give you some kind of reaction, you now control the conversation because you basically now have a grip on their sense of humor and you can keep on leading them. And usually, if you're generally a funny person and you've made a few jokes in your conversation, the other person is usually waiting for you to make another joke. They're almost feeding into your frame. This is why the person who is able to make people laugh usually is the one who is leading all the interactions and all the conversations, and also just naturally becomes the leader of the group or of the circle of people. Now, this is a very, very powerful strategy, and most people are doing this unconsciously. They don't even realize that they're always end up put into a situation where they're leading the other people. And the most interesting part is that it's very, very subtle. It's not one of those conversations where you're sitting in a meeting or with a large group of people and everyone's struggling for power. Everybody wants something to add. Instead, you just end up looking like a clown, a joker, and people fall into your frame of reference. They fall into what you say and they pay attention and they laugh and give you reactions, and you unknowingly end up leading them. This is why it works very well when you're in a relationship or when you're trying to get a girl interested in you. Being a funny guy is usually very, very advantageous because that positions you as the leader. And naturally, if you want to attract the girl that you're on a date with, you're going to be leading the conversation. And doing so in a funny manner actually puts everyone at ease. But nonetheless, you are still leading. For those of you guys that are funny and you know you're usually the center of attention, you pay attention at the people's subtle reactions to what you say, and you almost try to purposefully pick at them in order to get another reaction. So in a conversation, you said something funny and you didn't realize that it was going to be funny, but those people picked up on it and they liked it. Now, in order for you to keep being the funny guy, you know what makes them laugh. So every time you have an opportunity, you keep on adding fuel to the fire, and this way you maintain your control of the entire conversation. Now, I keep talking about all this control in a conversation, the power dynamic, but why is that important? Why should you care to have some kind of power dynamic in a conversation? Well, whether you are conscious of this or not, it always exists. This is really important if you're somebody who is often in a negotiation, some kind of sales, because in life, everything is sales. And I've done sales for years. And what you start to understand is that every single human interaction that you have is just sales. You can be conscious of it, you can be aware of it, or you can be unaware of it, but it's always a sales interaction. Even if it's just a simple conversation and you're just talking about some ideas, usually each person is trying to sell their own idea. It doesn't have to be aggressive. It's not the sales image that you picture in your head, some kind of a sleazy car salesman who tries to come up to you and tries to rip you off. That's not what I'm saying. But maybe you just came back from a movie that you watched and you want to tell your friends about it. So you start telling them how good the movie is and that they should watch it. You're selling it. You don't even care that they're going to watch it or not. You're not getting a commission for it. It's not about that. But you're selling the fact that it's a good movie. You're trying to back up the fact that you liked it and that they also are going to like it. And this can be extended to every other kind of conversation. And maybe your friend comes to you and you wanted to stay in tonight, but your friend is trying to sell you on the idea of going out. And you might not be opposed to it. You're like, fine, yeah, no problem. You're not even trying to resist it. You actually don't mind going out, but nonetheless, they're selling you and you're just accepting it. You're buying into their idea. That's how every single interaction works. So you don't need to walk around and try to be defensive and try to make sure nobody ever tries to sell you any idea or their perspective, but you do need to be aware of it. This way, you'll be able to not only protect yourself against unwanted ideas and against being influenced by something that you don't want to be influenced by, but you're also going to be able to go on the offensive. And that means when you have an idea, you're able to sell it. If there's something that you want to do, if there's something where you want to go, maybe the movie you want to watch, you're able to put forward your idea and convince the other person and persuade them why you guys should do that. This is the basics of all human interactions. The person that's leading the interaction and the person that's in power is most likely the one who's going to get their ideas across the best. Imagine this, you're at an interview. Naturally, you come in, the interviewer is already in power. If you're still nervous, that's going to take power away from you. But let's imagine you're not nervous right now. You come in as well, the interviewer starts asking you questions, and you want to stand out from the other 100 candidates that they just had. How do you do that? You can literally crack some jokes in the interview because nobody has the balls to do that. And what it also does for you is shift the power dynamic to you. So when you have it, you're able to sell yourself more. You're more likely to be able to tell the interviewer why you should work here. Or in a way, show them your personality, and that convinces them that they would want you on the team. Because think from the interviewer's perspective. Most people that come in, it's very mundane. The interviewer asks questions and the person on the other side just answers them. It's a pretty basic interaction. There's no real personality involved in there. It's just, can you answer these questions? How well do you answer them? And any other specific qualifications. But if you already have all that, and most people who apply do, but now it is not a one-way street. Interviewer asks you questions, you answer them back, you also throw some jokes in, maybe you ask them questions as well. Suddenly, the entire conversation feels different. The interviewer feels like they're talking to someone who knows their value. You come off as someone who doesn't base their entire life on passing this interview or not, because whether you get the job or not, you're still going to be fine. You'll still be just as good off. There's going to be another company that's going to like you anyway. That's the vibe you're going to get across. And that's when the interviewer knows, oh, that's the right person. That is a confident and competent person. They're not afraid of matching your energy. And how do I know all this? That's because I've conducted interviews for my company for years. I have interviewed over 1,000 people. And I know for a fact, any person that comes in there with a sense of humor and is relaxed and basically matches my energy and doesn't just sit there and answer questions like a puppet, that's the kind of person I want. I want a person with a brain, with their own personality. Now, of course, it depends on the type of work you're applying for, because if you're just going to be a factory worker and you're going to be performing the exact same task every single day, well, then maybe they don't care. They just want to see that you're someone who can perform and be consistent with what you're doing every single day. In other words, you're basically someone who is easily controlled and is basically a puppet for the company. And that's not the best life experience. So hopefully you're going into companies that actually value people with a brain and a personality. Also apply this to a date. You're going out on a date with a girl. You're sitting down there. Of course, you can start asking her questions and she'll answer, and you're going to have the power of the conversation and you can lead her into where you want to lead her. But now that's going to feel like an interrogation. It's going to feel like an interview. And dates are interviews. Whether you like it or not, as a young man, a date is an interview. You're basically seeing if you're a good fit for each other. If you remove all that lust, the fact that you're thinking with your dick, and that maybe you just want to smash that night, but regardless, it's an interview. But obviously, if you want a girl to like you, you can't make it feel like an interview. So that's why you make conversation. You can ask some questions here and there if they come up naturally. You make her laugh, and then you can steer the conversation or the entire interaction into where you want it to go. So for example, if I'm on a date and I'm making a girl laugh, that is easy mode. It's like I said, making people laugh is a superpower, because you don't have to be crazy with your questions or with the stories you tell. Just make her laugh, because if she laughs, that's it, she's hooked. She's now waiting for your next joke, whether she realizes it or not. She's now waiting for you to keep being funny, and you keep leading her. So that way, when it's time to leave and you want to take her home, naturally she's going to follow. Now, of course, there are other factors, but all I'm saying is that this increases your chances of leading her where you want. And this is why girls like funny guys, but it's not for the reasons they think. They think they like funny guys because they're funny and everybody likes to laugh, but that's true for men as well. But really, it's because it's a sense of direction and it's a type of leadership from the guy. And girls like leadership. Girls like to be led. And it also puts them at ease. It makes them relaxed because most girls are going to be very anxious when they're meeting a person for the first couple times. Now here's something very important. Don't try to force it. If you're someone who is not naturally a funny person, and I believe everybody is, everybody just has their own humor. And if you're not funny to the people you're trying to be funny, it means you're trying too hard and you're not actually using your true sense of humor because you think you might not be accepted for your sense of humor. And that's okay, because this is how it's like for me. I usually only made certain jokes with my close group of friends and they found it funny, but I never dared do it with random people I just met, because I thought they're gonna find me weird or they're not even gonna laugh, which is gonna be super awkward. But you know what? Those people wouldn't be fun to be around anyway. Don't you want to be with people who are in a way similar to you? If I go on a date, make a few jokes, and the girl completely doesn't get them, it's just not good compatibility. It's not going to be fun. I don't need to try to change my humor to please the person, because then I'm fake, she can tell, and it just gets awkward. Instead, I'm going to make my jokes everywhere I go. I'll point out funny things. I'll make up funny scenarios. And if someone laughs, I know, nice, that's a compatible person. That's someone that I'm going to get along with. Here's actually how I learned that, because I used to keep a lot of those things that I thought were funny inside and I wouldn't share them with anyone. And I used to do a lot of door-to-door sales. And one thing I realized is that if I want a customer to listen to me more than just be interested in the product, because most of them are not, you got to entertain them in a way. You got to make them laugh. You got to be funny. So I was trying to be funny. And of course, it didn't work with everyone. And I thought, wow, my sense of humor is so different from others that most people actually just completely miss the joke. It goes right over their head. And then it just feels awkward and I have to move on with the next part of the sentence that I was going to say. And I kept trying to alter the things I would say to try to make the person laugh. But that's not how it works. Because one day I came across a customer or a person that I was about to sell to, and I was going all in with my jokes. And it was nothing crazy. Like, it's not like I'm sitting there crafting a joke. I'm just saying something funny they said in their sentence. I make a little bit of fun of them. I might say things in a certain way that twists how it sounds. That's about it. It's not crazy. That person loved it. They didn't even really need to buy the product. They only bought from me because they liked my personality, which was, of course, infused with this type of humor. And they absolutely loved it because they would throw all these kind of questions at me and they would say all these things to purposefully provoke me making a joke out of it. They couldn't get enough of it. It was such a great interaction. It was such an easy sale. And the person I was with, I was training another guy with me. He was looking at me like, how are you doing this? And I'm like, it's not what I'm doing. It's nothing crazy. It's more like I just found the right person that vibes with me and then I capitalize on it. So this translates into your life as well, because instead of trying to change how you make jokes and everything, just keep it the same, share it with people, and the right people that like those jokes and that like you as a person are just gonna vibe with you. And you'll make some friends, or you'll get in that relationship, or you're gonna get that job. Now, one more thing I haven't told you guys is one downfall of this strategy. We can talk about the positives, and you're making people laugh, they follow you, you're leading the interaction, great. What could be the downside of this? It's very simple. The only way the other person can take back control of the conversation, or for you to lose all of your power in that conversation, is if they don't laugh or don't even react at what you said. I mean, think about it. Let's say you make one of those classic jokes. Let's say it's a knock-knock joke. You say it and the person doesn't get it. They just kind of stand there looking at you in silence. What usually happens there? It feels a little bit awkward. And then you, who made the joke, tries to fill in the silence. And the person that speaks first, or the person that tries to fill the silence first because they're uncomfortable of the social tension, you lose your entire power. You're now back in the frame of the other person. And you could do the same thing too. You want to take back control of a conversation from a funny guy? don't react. Now, I'm not saying this to teach you how to use this unethically or try to purposefully not laugh at people's jokes so that you could maintain the power of the conversation. But what I am saying is that if you're a funny person and you make jokes on the go, they're going to be subtle. Meaning, if nobody reacts, it was just a normal sentence and you move on. But if you put yourself into a situation where it's a actual joke and there's a punchline and everybody knows it was a joke and nobody gets it, that's when it gets awkward. That's the only way someone can take away and tilt the power dynamic. So guys, I'm just gonna have to cut this short today. It seems that I'm losing my voice and I'm not able to recover it because I keep recording a video every day. And of course, for our smaller channel, it's very important to be consistent and to not miss out on the upload schedule. And I wanna make sure that we're growing. So if you guys got some value from this video and you found it either interesting or something you could implement into your own life, you can check out my other videos or feel free to subscribe. I'm gonna be talking a lot about social skills and other topics as well. And remember, for those of you guys that are funny, stay funny and be aware of the power you have because it's a superpower. And if you're somebody who is not a funny person, I believe every single person actually has a sense of humor. It's just unique to them. And you just need to bring it to light and not be afraid of making those jokes that you think in your mind, but you never say. And you'll see how certain people are going to start being drawn towards you. Catch you guys in the next one.